Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and we're here for a Saturday live stream. And so we have a couple of topics. Actually, we're going to have three topics to go over today. We're going to open with talking about Hodinkee and the announcement by Ben Clymer, the founder, about some changes in direction that they are now undertaking. We will talk a bit about Omega and one of their new Olympic-themed releases, the BG859, but in bronze gold now. And then actually, I did see, I can't highlight it, I don't think, because it came in too long ago, but I did see that there was a request by Joe Bolt in the live chat to talk about the Spinnaker SpongeBob watches because he was sad that he missed out on them. So I have thrown in one of their sponsored posts on A Blog to Watch that will load up for some images. And I will do my best to criticize that release, not being someone who ever watched SpongeBob. But anyway, good morning. No pre-recorded videos over the last week. I think I had announced it ahead of time, but I actually got back from Detroit yesterday. So I've been in Detroit all week from Monday through Friday. So I did see Shinola Dealer. They were not open when the conference that I was at. Generally, sessions ran until 6 p.m. So by the time I got to walk around downtown Detroit, most of the non-restaurants and bars were already closed. But I did see a Shinola, and of course, some of the clocks that they have up out there. I also saw a jeweler that had a sign, a very old sign that said that they were a Bulova dealer. Again, not open. But so that's about as far as I could take it with wristwatches in terms of Detroit. Of course, Shinola is a Detroit company, and that's why I wanted to go ahead and happen to note that one in particular. So we are going to get underway. On the wrist is the Longa 1 from Langenzone. I wore my Explorer 2 all week, so it's finally back in the watch box getting a rest because it's my one GMT watch. So, and I do have to change time zones to go over to Detroit. Even though they're a fairly Midwestern place, they are actually in the Eastern time zone. So, good morning, Tuna. Welcome to the live stream. Hope things are going well for you. And as always, thank you for being a 99-cent club member. So, let us go ahead and we will start with Hodinkee. Now, this got a lot of play on social media, on watch forums. I saw it discussed on Watch Crunch. I saw it discussed on the Tim Masso Facebook group. I saw it discussed on Reddit. It was everywhere. So, here in the video description, you can find the link to this where Benjamin or Ben Clymer, founder of Hodinkee, writes up kind of the future for the brand. And we're not going to read the entire thing, even though it's not particularly long. But long story short, they are pivoting away from selling watches, but not entirely. And they are pivoting away from being more fashion focused and getting back towards being more watch focused. And I would say that's at least expressed as being a bit more explicit in terms of true to form of what it was. So for those that aren't familiar, Hodinkee was once upon a time the place to go for watch news. It was a blog. Ben founded it. It got a lot of attention. Like, it was around before I got into wristwatches. So a lot of people are into watches, watch collecting, watch enthusiasm because of Hodinkee. There's a lot of people that have a soft spot for it. In fact, I think one of the 99-cent club members, Koji, who I'm going to meet later today, in fact, because he is in Kansas for his family is from here. He is, I think there's an article with his watches, his collection of watches at the time, featured on Hodinkee. So they highlighted, they highlight collectors, not just on YouTube. They had articles, all the rest of it. They had some really interesting, very strong writers in their stable that wrote about wristwatches. They have moved from that over the years. Ben sold to investors came in. Hodinkee really shifted. When did the changes happen? It was a gradual thing. I know a lot of people that are fans of Hodinkee will point to the travel alarm clock, which was an overpriced mechanical travel alarm clock that they did as the first sort of selling out that they happened to do. But Hodinkee has been fairly diversified, really at that point and then beyond some. The biggest changes, of course, being when they acquired Crown and Caliber. Crown and Caliber was a very well-established secondhand watch dealer, online secondhand watch dealer. Hodinkee acquired them. during the pandemic when prices were still really high. So since then, prices have come back down to earth. They've been saddled with a slew of inventory, and it's just not working. They've lost some of their best writers like Jack Forster, who went over to Watchbox, now the 1916 company, plus some others that were pretty popular individuals who did a lot of their reviews and stuff. They started writing a lot about things besides watches, other luxury realms, and they started to, in addition to sell through Crown and Caliber, they had a used watch shop that they started to push really aggressively on the Hodinkee site, coupled with selling new watches on the Hodinkee site. They also offer wristwatch insurance. Hodinkee branded insurance is actually through Chubb, which you could just go to Chubb directly, I believe, and get your insurance if you wanted to. But this article comes out, or this, it's not really an article, this memo from Ben talking about changes. So what are they doing? They still have their pre-owned shop. However, they're not adding any more pre-owned watches into it. So that means no more new pre-owned watches on Hodinkee's site or on Crown and Caliber's site. They say that they're not going to add any new models to their modern wristwatch side either. So I'm assuming what this means is that new or used, they're selling existing inventory, and then that's it. They don't, because otherwise, why say you're not going to add any new models? They didn't say they're not going to add any new brands to their new watch line, but they do specify that they will still do Hodinkee branded limited editions, which is something they've done quite a few of. They do say they're still going to sell insurance, so they're not going back to a pure blog either. And they say that they're going to expand their editorial team. They are going to focus on writing a lot more about watches and kind of getting back to their roots. But so they're back, but only kind of, because some of this stuff, like he's covering his behind here, Ben is, by saying, does this mean we'll never sell watches again? I wouldn't say that. He probably didn't say it in that tone, but that's how I read it. So in my view, Ben Clymer it's a smart move, because Hodinkee has suffered a great deal of financial loss by buying a used watch company, and then the inventory. I don't know how much their used inventory that they just got stuck with buying Crown and Caliber ended up devaluing. It had to have been at least 25%. I think it wouldn't surprise me it was closer to 50%. They're an online new watch distributor, but none of the highest end brands let you sell watches online. They don't make online store deals. So they're not going around selling brand new Rolexes online. You can only sell the lower stuff, generally speaking. I think they were doing something for a while, even with Omega, but it clearly never took off. And I think that was still like pop-up shop style stuff. It's been a while. It's hard for me to remember. So basically, the focusing on the editorial side is the exciting part. I think going back and saying we're going to focus on writing about watches is what's could win back the enthusiasts, because a lot of people will. In fact, today I have two articles, this one, of course, and then an actual article from Hodinkee. I very rarely would turn to Hodinkee to do these Saturday live streams. It's not that they weren't a reliable news source. It was just, they're definitely not that good at it. So why would I ask for them to write up something that I could find from a Blog to Watch or Worn and Wound or Time and Tide? But Ben wants his cake to have and to eat. And the only reason they're getting out of selling watches is because it's not working right now. And that's why, wisely, he doesn't want to come across as a liar. So he leaves this door open about that maybe they'll get back into the used watch business in the future. This is about making money. It's not about being like this pedigree, well-respected, entrepreneurial blog that puts out really great information on watches. It's what can we do to make the most money possible? And that blew up in their face. They're keeping the insurance side because that didn't blow up. People like the insurance. It works. Chubb is well established. So they're going to keep doing that. They're going to keep doing the limited editions because, hey, they might not all sell out now, but there was a time where they did. And so why not embrace that and still continue to say, yeah, we're going to have G-Shocks that are branded after like the third assistant editor of the whatever they end up doing, because that might recover. And that's not necessarily them getting stuck with a whole bunch of stuff. They're only stuck with the Hodinkee branded stuff. So they're kind of trying to have the cake and eat it too. The one thing, though, that concerns me isn't them leaving the door open to selling the watches. Yeah, it's scuzzy. Yeah, it's a conflict of interest. Yeah, we see it with a lot of other watch publications, though. The thing is, it's all well and good to say that the edit team will grow. It would have been far better, in my opinion, to have put out this announcement and then been actually naming someone, like getting Jack Forrester back or something, and saying, look, we've brought in this legend, this icon that everyone loves. So it didn't have to be Jack. It could have been one of their other well-respected reviewers they used to have. But that's just a promise to be. It's not here yet. And so I think that's the surprise that would have really, I think, cemented it. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. So we will see as time advances what actually ends up happening here. It's overall, I think this is an optimistic announcement. I think it's a good sign. I know a lot of people really would like to go back to reading Hodinkee, the Hodinkee of old. I don't know yet. I will. It's not just the expansion of the editorial team that I'm going to be looking at. I did, oh gosh, it feels like it was 2 years ago now, but I did an analysis 1 month of their reviews, and they softball their watch reviews big time. Are they actually going to be, I don't expect hard-hitting journalism from a niche hobby publication like this, but are they actually going to be critical of watches? Like, that's one of the reasons why, even though I don't like all the formatting that they do on their introducing pieces, why I like a blog to watch so much is the person doing the review will levy criticisms of things they don't like about a watch or that they would have preferred differently. Hodinkee was not like that. Almost all of their stuff is only positive. And the biggest criticisms that I remember seeing would be things like, oh, well, I wish it was bigger, or, oh, I wish it was smaller. Well, of course, it's subjective. So depending on the reviewer, is a 42 millimeter going to be too big or too small? Is going to, well, it's probably not too small for anyone, but that would be, who wants the 36 and who wants the 42? Came down to wrist size, and it's not a real criticism. That's just kind of a nice to know sort of thing. So anyway, interesting news. Got a lot of discussion, so I wanted to go ahead and cover it here. So let me go ahead and get caught up with the chat before we move to discussing some watches today. Joel Bolt says, let's go. We are going, Joel. Thank you for joining in. And if you didn't catch the very beginning, I did acknowledge your early chat submission, so we will have a conversation about Spinnaker. Tuna says they could do a Biden G-Shock, lol. You see, that could have been a campaign prop, but now he's not running, so it's not a campaign prop. So I don't know. We haven't had a good presidential watch since the Spiro Agnew, have we? Nixon might have had a watch. I don't think so, though. I don't remember it coming up when I did my research. The Dirty Time Company back in the day did do political party watches, like donkeys and elephants, I believe, but not. I think Spiro was like the only politician that ever caught on. Lightning in a bottle, as it were. Neff, welcome to the live stream, and for being a 99-cent club member, says, hello, you finally made it. We are glad that you made it, and we are also glad that Underachieving Watch Collector made it. Neff says Nixon has a whole watch brand. Fair enough, Neff. That is fair enough. You know who else has their whole watch brand all to themselves? Omega. All right, Omega is not a person. It's a Greek letter, but just roll with it here. All right, BG859, right? People love it, right? Remember when the CK859 or whatever it was called? Was that what it was called? Yeah, the CK859. CK was Omega's old branding for stainless steel. They came out with this a couple of years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I remember seeing this in one of our area Omega authorized dealers because they didn't fly off the shelf. It ended up being a very limited run, though. It wasn't announced as a limited edition or anything. They just didn't make it for very long. Well, how about you end up going and getting a gold version, right? You like the Olympics, right? Did you watch the Olympics introduction, the opening ceremonies yesterday? I watched part of it until I got too tired, and I just had to see how big of a boat Team America was on. It was on the big, well, I think they may have given the biggest boat to France, but Team America, of course, being so large, actually had a very sizable boat. But we're not here to talk about the size of a boat. We're here to talk about the size of a watch. So this is in honor of the Paris 2024 Olympics. It is a bronze gold iteration. Now, this watch is broadly being promoted. And again, this Hodinkee article is linked in the video description if you want to go ahead and read up and look at the pictures of this. So it's basically a goldified version of the stainless steel. Kind of. They're actually trying to theme it around all three medals of the Olympics. So gold, silver, and bronze, right? The podium placing medals. So how did they do it? Okay, the case is made out of bronze gold. So they didn't do a bronze cased watch. They've done bronze gold before. If you're not familiar with Omega's bronze gold, it is an alloy, so it's a bronze, but it's 37.5% gold. So what does that work out to? Like 9-karat gold or something? So all right, so it's got gold in it, and I actually think it's a very nice color. And that's what we see here in this case. The dial is made out of silver. So there's your silver medal represented. So you've got bronze, an elite version of bronze, but you've got a bronze case, and then you've got a silver dial. So where is the gold? Okay, it's the hands. The hands, but you're probably going, but Dennis, you've zoomed in on this picture at Hodinkee's site. You can see the silver branding here, kind of, if you're on a bigger screen where it has the silver code on the dial. But anyway, you're probably saying the hands look just like the case. Well, the hands are made out of Omega's Sedna gold, which is a traditional, well, it's their own flavor of an alloy, but it's an 18-karat gold. Like you'd normally think of modern watches. When we say gold, we mean 18-karat gold. The hands are 18-karat gold, but then they coated them in PVD that is the same bronze gold color as the case. So you can't tell that they're gold. You can only tell that they're quasi gold, except that it's PVD, so it's not really quasi gold at all. But the inside is gold. The juicy Snickers nougat center is gold. So that's how they did it. I don't know why they did it this way. The only thing I can think of is that yellow gold, Sedna version of yellow gold, just it clashed. Like it didn't look right with the bronze gold case. And that's the only thing I can think of. So they're like, it just doesn't look elegant enough. And this looks pretty elegant. So they're like, we have to coat it. We have to make it the same gold color as the case. But they're like, well, but we're doing this Olympic thing and people are going to want 18 karat, like, yeah, that's not pure gold, 24 karats pure gold, but pure watch gold. And they're like, all right, well, we'll PVD it and the hands will be gold. So, but as we all know from the moon swatches, having an 18 karat gold hand is like, there's so little gold involved. It's not like it's an expensive thing to do. So otherwise, this looks very much like what you would expect from the old CK version of this watch. I think it looks pretty good. The reason I never pulled the trigger on the CK, well, there are a few reasons, but I don't love the hour marker 3, 9, and 12, the way it's done. Like the font's okay. I don't know. It's a little, to me, it's when you do numbers like this on a dress watch, it's almost too sporty for me, or I don't like it on the guilloche. This is not a true rose lathe guilloche, by the way. This is stamped. I could not find the source where I read that, but I'm in no way surprised given it's Omega. This is not Breguet, okay? They did not hand lathe this. This is a stamped dial, and which is fine at the price point. I would not expect it to be lathed. You've got the minute track. I just think the dial's a little busy. I like it. The closer you get to the center, the more I like it. I like the handset. I like the small seconds. I like the way they sector it. Overall, I think it's a pretty attractive watch. But for me, the dial's too busy for the dress watch vibe that it's going for. And that was the same for the stainless steel version, which is why I never seriously considered getting the CK859. The other thing I have in terms of an issue with it, I think it looks good on the calfskin strap and all the rest of it, this watch is too thick for time only. This is a hand wind movement, same as what the CK859. Hand wind movement, but this is almost 12 millimeters thick. I know it's Omega. They can't help themselves. They don't know how to make watches under 10 millimeters thick that aren't quartz. If they even do that anymore. I assume they do somewhere in some of their ladies' lines. But this is 39 millimeter watch, 46.2 millimeters lug to lug. Very good size for modern dress watch aesthetic. But 11.7 millimeters thick is way too thick for a 30-meter water-resistant watch with a hand wind only movement. But it's coaxial, and Omega refuses to invest in the resources to slim it, and I'm going to keep calling it out because it's a bunch of crap. You can get, for this price, this watch is like a $12,000 watch. Yes, $12,000 new at retail and boutique. You can get a used Patrimony from Vacheron for less than this watch. So I just don't think it's competitively priced for what it is. And again, that Patrimony would be 18 karat gold, the case, and the hands. I don't know about the dial, but not this 9 karat stuff, even though I think this case looks great. So for me, this is too thick. And the dial is too busy for the aesthetic it's going for. And I don't pay $12,000 for bronze gold. But used, maybe I would consider this if I like the dial a little bit more. But I think 12,000 is pretty high, given how little, the gold quantity being 37.5%. It's just, I just don't see the value here. This is not a limited watch either. The branding might suggest it to you, but this is not a limited edition. Do I expect them to build them beyond this year? Probably not, since the CK859 didn't get beyond it. I highly doubt the gold version will, since this is twice as much as that one was. But anyway, overall, I think it's a pretty nice watch. Here's a nice picture of the silver one, if you were curious. I don't think I can't zoom it any more than that, unfortunately. But it had the blued hands. It looked really, really good, though. So yeah, I mean, they did a nice job. Just some elements I don't favor, but at the price that it is with the limited gold count, I just don't think it's a good deal. I'm not saying it's a ripoff. I just don't think it's a good deal. So anyway, that is where I stand with that. So let's see. Getting caught up with some of the chat. Let's see. Tuna says, I think that Joe actually wears an Omega. Oh, Joe Biden. Joe Biden actually is a watch collector. He has Datejust, he has Omega, he has a Seiko that I've seen. Those are the three that stand out to me. And I see Joe Bolt notes that he had a Rolex on in his most recent. I didn't see the most recent speech. Adam says like a 9% gold rating, and then corrects it to 9K. Yeah, I think 9 karat. It's 37.5. I'm pretty sure it's 37.5. Exactly in terms of the gold. In fact, I don't know if it was this article or I saw it. Yeah, there we go. There you go. 50% copper, 37.5% gold, which allows it to be hallmarked as 9 karat. So yes, 9 karat. Adam is correct. Tuna says an attractive looking watch. Neff says very nice, but dollar signs. Yes, many dollar signs. I mean, it's well under what most brands would sell a brand new 18 karat gold case for. So I know it's not completely fair for me to compare it against a used dress watch, especially the Patrimony, which does not fare well. Like, so the Patrimony takes a bath. It's not like the Calatrava. It takes a huge hit used. I would say, like, if you like the Patrimony, the Patrimony I like a lot about it, but I don't love the baton hands on it is my biggest issue with it, or pencil hands that they use. But if you like those hands, look at a used Patrimony, because this is like one of the best deals for those time only, they probably have date versions as well. But if you want a time only, like Calatrava-esque style watch, definitely take a look at Patrimony's second hand, because they have a huge reduction in price. So Koji adds, wow, that's pricey. Yeah, I was hoping for it to be closer to 9, to be honest. But Adam says, I think it's a 2K bump for the limited series. I would agree, Adam. My only problem that I run into is it's clearly been articulated that this is not a limited watch. So it's just Olympic branded, but they've promised nothing. They haven't promised limited production. I'm assuming it will be limited production because the original CK version was limited production, but they also never advertised that one to be limited. I just think it didn't sell well. And so it ended up being limited because most people do not turn to, at least in the West, most people do not turn to Omega for dress watches. I have to hedge a little bit because there are obviously the DeVille does very well, especially back when China was buying a lot of watches. The DeVille did very well there. And you could maybe argue it was a dress watch, but the DeVille line is a dress watch in the way that a Datejust is a dress watch. It's a stainless steel sports watch that looks pretty elegant, but it's not like that. Like this is like a real dress watch. So I'll put the picture back up there. Neff says 12,000 for 9 karat gold. Definitely going to be one to look for secondhand. Yeah, I don't know how common it will be secondhand because I don't know how many they're going to move. I do like that they kept the branding just on the back for the Olympics. So like if you were worried about this being a tacky Olympics watch, they definitely thought about that and they really avoided it. This is all very tasteful. I don't usually care too much what they do on a case back. I did see someone in one of the comment sections of, it might've been this Hodinkee article. It may have been a different one. I read three articles on this. Complained about it not being a display case back. I mean, it's, if you've never seen the hand wind version of the movement, it's as well decorated as any other standard, like a Seamaster move. It's not like the Ed White sort of Moonwatch sort of thing. It's not that impressive. It's standard machine finish. Omega's machine finishing is some of the best at the price point, but we're in 5 figures now. I'd want it to be I shouldn't say hand decorated. I want it to be better machine decorated than what they do on their Seamasters, and they're not going to do that. So it is what it is. Matthew says the Chopard LUC4 screen is cheaper and blows this away. Sure, but the LUC4 screen is steel. So this has got 9-karat gold. You got to factor in the 9-karat gold, Matthew. Can't forget it. I do like the Chopard dial better, though. Better execution. I still, as I noted, I just feel this is a little, if you love sector dials, this may really resonate with you. I think it's a bit busy for what this is, because this, again, I'm getting Calatrava vibes, but you made the dial really fairly complicated, quite frankly. But yeah, one's mileage will vary depending on what you like and what you don't. Neff says he loves the small second hand. And let's see. Adam says he used the quotation marks for limited up above, which you see I've now highlighted, because it's limited in the sense like a Jersey Jack pinball limited edition. That is a fair enough point. Good use of the quotes. I did not catch that initially. Neff says it's probably more limited than their actual limited edition watches. It could be. We'll have to see. Given that it's bronze gold, I don't think it's going to sell as well as the CK, and the CK version did not sell that well. I think ultimately they sold out of them, but again, you could get them at retail for quite a while. Neff says, in a watch with such a limited amount of gold, I would have demanded a solid case back. At least they give you that. Yes, they do. I think it was a smart choice. And again, where else are they going to put the Olympic branding unless they make the dial tacky? And they chose not to. And Tuna says, to be fair, the DeVille line makes for a good do most everyday things watch. Sure, but so does the Datejust. So I like the DeVille line. I've looked at it several times. There's usually a few things that sort of set me off about it. I think the biggest thing that I've normally not resonated with regarding the DeVille line is they had a tendency to not color match the date windows. Again, Omega's like hit and miss on that. Like the 300M, they color match. The Aquaterras, the new Aquaterras, they don't. The colorful ones, I don't get it. It's inconsistent. They clearly have the ability. But what they do and what they don't do just varies. So this was everything I was going to cover for sure today. However, as I noted, I cannot highlight it. It came in this little duck StreamYard thing that you see in the corner. Only goes back so far with accessing chat based off of when I fire up the studio, so to speak. However, I was able to see from the YouTube channel the chat from Joel Bolt, which came in before I went live, asking or saying, Dennis, there's an explanation. I'm reading it now. I can't highlight it for you though. Can you discuss the SpongeBob Spinnaker watches? Please make me feel better about missing out by ripping them. Laugh out loud. Okay. I will do my best. Now this is not linked in the video description. This incidentally is a sponsored post. This is not an article by a blog to watch. This is a sponsored post article. I do not normally use these for live stream discussions, but just FYI, so you know, this is promotional. Like that's why it says by sponsored post here. I have not watched SpongeBob. Like all I know are memes, and I don't like get any of them because I never watched SpongeBob. SpongeBob is before or after my time. It's not before my time. I'm way too old for SpongeBob. Or at least I'm going to tell myself that. So they ended up launching 25th limited edition dive watch. I think they made about 1,200 in. I don't know if they did 1,200 in each of the dials or if it was 1,200 total. But you see, they have the red one. They have the grumpy green one, and they have the SpongeBob one. I know this is SpongeBob. I don't know the other characters. Wait, do they have the pink one too? I used to know the pink one's name. I don't remember the pink one, but the pink triangle guy. The triangle guy one, he's pink. He's a pink one. Hey, look, they've actually done color matching. So I'm going to give them a little bit of kudos. I know I'm supposed to diss these, but we'll get to that. Don't worry. So 4:30 date window. Otherwise, it's time plus date watch. 300 meters of water resistance on these. And they came with, I think they come with both the strap and the bracelet, and they came in these fancy little boxes. I think they have So here's a picture of them with the strap and the bracelet options that Spinnaker was doing. And I don't think they come with a sand and the seashells. I think you have to find those yourself. Loomed, of course, dive watch, and they came in these like lunchbox crate things. I don't know if Spinnaker always does that or not. But anyway, $445. So pretty reasonable. Yeah, okay. It was 300 pieces of each character. So 1,200 units total because there were 4 different characters. The green one, the pink guy, the SpongeBob guy, and the red guy. Okay, these are the official names that they've gone with. And obviously decent depth rating. All right. I don't like the font on these at all. So that's what I'll criticize. I'm going to say, if we can get some close-ups here, I don't like the font on the bezel. I think it looks hard to read. And these are not small, by the way. These are like 43 millimeter watches, 22 millimeter lug width. So pretty wide watches there. And again, it's a blog to watch, and they didn't put all the stats in one catch-all box, was my biggest criticism. So yes, 43 millimeters in diameter, 14 millimeters thick. I already told you about the water resistance. These are powered by the NH35, so I think a lot of people will be pleased about that. A robust movement, if not particularly accurate. But again, this is a sub $500 watch. It's actually, if you were a fan of SpongeBob, it would be pretty hard for me to honestly say that you shouldn't have got these, because the price is super cheap. The movement's robust. They actually put some thought into them. The 430 date window is definitely going to be polarizing, especially the circular cutout, which I think is one of the uglier approaches you can do for a 430 date window. And I like 430 date windows, but a lot of people don't. But they color matched. I mean, the pink guy gets the color match to the purple where the text is at the kind of to the side of the chapter ring before the bezel. I think the rest are all color matched the actual main color of the dial. The red one and SpongeBob are. I don't remember if the grumpy one is. We'll call it the grumpy one. I call it the grumpy one because I've seen the guy is sad in the memes. I don't know if he's sad in the show or not. This is the grumpy one. So, I don't know how the bezel is. I'm assuming standard unidirectional. I mean, but I don't know how well the play is or anything in it. So, yeah, I'll show you the dials, but yeah, the fonts are just bad. I mean, it's almost Comic Sans. There's your biggest criticism. Look at this. The Spinnaker font's ugly. The numbers are ugly. The bezel's ugly. They've got these quotes. You never really know the true something or something or something, which do we need inspirational lines on our watches? I mean, probably not. But yeah, if you were into SpongeBob, I think you'd probably be pretty sad. So I don't think I can really make anyone feel better. All I'm showing is that I am completely ignorant about just about everything involving SpongeBob. So I wouldn't buy them. I don't know if that makes you feel any better, but after saying I don't know anything about this and I don't like the way they look, it's like, but you don't know anything about them, so why would you, sort of thing. So I think that is the challenge. So let me get caught up with the chat here. We'll put up the grumpy one while we look at it, because that's how anyone who didn't buy these, who is a fan, is probably feeling right now. Tuna says, there's always room for SpongeBob. Well, no, Tuna, there's not room in my box for SpongeBob because I don't know anything about this. Joel Bolt says, I believe 300 of each design. Yes, that is correct. We did end up confirming that. Neff says, I love these SpongeBob watches, and I think they nailed the dials, although the watch is way too big for me. If I could pull it off, I'd get the Patrick, the pink one. Yeah, the Patrick. He's the pink one, guys. The pink one. We're going to point him up. He's the pink. I knew this was. I said I knew his name. At one point I heard he was Patrick because I read someone explain one of the memes once, and I was like, I understand the meme now. Look at him. I do like that this one actually. I like this one isn't color matched to the base dial. I like that it's actually color matched to the inspirational quote. You never really know the true meaning of a moment on the, I can't read the rest of it. I don't know what it says. It's probably something from the show that all of the people who know the show are like, Dennis, this is the most obvious line ever, and it completely belongs. So, Thelonious Monk the Fourth, if I'm saying your name right, welcome to the live stream, by the way. The font they use is the font they used on the show. See? So now my criticism is pointlessly stupid because I wouldn't know because I never watched the show, but it's show font, so it's even more SpongeBob-y than I recognized. This is like the true, like, if you didn't get one of these, you probably don't like you've said you're not a SpongeBob fan because it's like pure SpongeBob. Everyone who seems to know SpongeBob in the chat seems to be indicating that that you should have bought this if you were a SpongeBob fan. Joel Bolt says FOMO at an all-time high for me now. Yeah, Joel, you might want to give up on watch collecting if you didn't get this and you're a SpongeBob fan, because I mean there were 1,200 of them. What excuse do you honestly have? Or did you only want the Patrick one? If you only wanted the Patrick one and you couldn't get the 300, I mean, 1,200, you had a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity. Watch market's down, Joel. It's down right now. How could you not get this? Don't you know that this font is from the show? I don't think you knew that, but you know now. Sky Pinball says, I get a SpongeBob Pinball limited edition. You know, in the world of pinball, I bet people have suggested SpongeBob being a theme. I've not heard a rumor of any company is going to do it. I would guess if there was a company to do it, it'd probably be Spooky Pinball, even though I don't think SpongeBob is a spooky show. Again, I've not watched it, so I don't really know. I mean, they are anthropomorphized sponges involved, so it could be scary, but they've done cartoons before, is why I name them in particular. But then again, so is Stern Pinball with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Neff says they have to use that font, though. Like Thelonious said, it's from the show. Neff, that's old news. Thelonious pointed that out like 5 minutes ago. We've already covered that. We've already covered it. We don't need to cover it anymore. I'm already making Joel feel bad because he should have known about that font. Matthew says, inexpensive compared to the Constantine Jakin Minion watch. Well, yes, it is. But Constantine doesn't power their watch by the NH35 and doesn't use this font. And I don't know the size of the Constantine, so I cannot compare. 43 millimeters is a pretty typical dive watch size. I was going to make fun of the thickness, the 14 millimeters thickness, but it's 300 meters of water resistance. I honestly can't really criticize it for being that thick when you've got that level of water resistance. Yes, higher end brands have gotten that water resistance for thinner, but 14 millimeters is not seen as an overly thick watch at 40 millimeter diameter if it's a dive watch, and this is. So, I mean, it's better spec than a lot of stuff that you're going to consider out of Orient, for example. So it's just one of those things. Paul S. Welcome to the live stream, by the way, Paul. Hi, fun looking watches, expensive to wear once or twice a year. See, well, I was going to say, like, that would be my wear frequency on them, but I wouldn't wear them at all because I don't watch the show, so I don't get any of it, so I wouldn't buy them, so I don't feel bad that I didn't buy them because I don't have FOMO for it because it wasn't my show. Now, like, if it was like Venture Brother watches, then I'd have probably felt bad because I want a Venture Brothers watch. Can Spinnaker do Venture Brothers watches? Because I would do it. I do have watches like this, though, Paul, so I have a couple of, because pinball is one of my other hobbies, I have a couple of pinball and arcade themed watches that stay in my vintage box or my vintage / fun watch box. So that's where I've got my Ricochet watch. I've got my Spiro Agnew watch. I've got my Step Right Up watch. And yeah, I do only tend to wear them like a couple times a year, once a quarter, something like that. But, you know, it depends. Some of those were cheap. Like the Ricochet was cheaper than this. But this has got a better movement in it than the Ricochet does. So yeah, I agree. If watch collecting is tricky because for a lot of watch collectors, $500 would be a serious investment, and for other watch collectors, $500 is a impulse buy. So it really depends where you come at the hobby, which is one of the really interesting things about watches is so many people come in at such different angles on how much they're willing to spend for watches. If I was a true fan of the show, I would pull the trigger even for a sometimes watch. Like I'd be comfortable enough at sub 500 to do it, but it is what it is. Thelonious says, for anyone born in the late 80s and early 90s, these really hit home. I was born in 88, and while it's not my style, I get why someone might like SpongeBob, which was huge, which is why I assume I see so many memes for SpongeBob. So I understand that SpongeBob is huge, but as someone born in 78, you know, I had G.I. Joe and He-Man and, you know, well, Masters of the Universe technically, and Snorks. Like the closest water baby thing I would have would be Snorks, you know, the water version of Smurfs. That's what I had growing up. So, but I think SpongeBob got bigger than Snorks did. So Neff asks, did I mention the font? I don't remember anymore, Neff. We've moved so far beyond the font at this point where we're all in on the green one. So he has a name too, I assume. So I know Patrick now, and I know SpongeBob. I don't know the red one, and I don't know the green one. So the green grumpy guy, I'm calling him Grumpy Guy, and then this guy who looks really happy. Now, I would say, given how old I am, because I've seen The Little Mermaid, that I thought this was Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, who was the crab, because this looks like it might be a crab, but I'm not positive what this is. I do kind of like the lunch boxes, but I don't get hung up on cases because they just go in the, on a shelf somewhere. Because if you ever want to get rid of the watch, you just got to. So Neff says Squidward. Squidward. I assume that's the green one because the red one doesn't look like a squid. So that's okay. So this is Squidward, and he's, I assume, grumpy because he looks pretty grumpy in this shot. I like the loom. They did pretty good. I'm sorry, Joel. They did a pretty good job on these, even with everything that I would criticize as something straight out of the show. I mean, I don't think I get to really be critical of it. It's a winner. It was a winner for anyone who got one. Neff says Squidward is the green. Mr. Krabs is the, I could have guessed that. Mr. Krabs. Of course he's Mr. Krabs. Mr. Krabs, Dr. Krabs to you. He did not go to evil medical school to be Mr. Krabs. Thank you very much. And Adam says Snorks. That's a file. Yeah, Snorks. I don't really remember any of the plot. I can still kind of remember the plot to Smurfs. I don't remember the plot to Snorks. I think they were just water Smurfs swimming around doing stuff like that. And Koji says, all I know is that I think Krugen voiced one of the characters. Okay, well, we got through everything, guys. Thank you, Joel, by the way, though, for bringing up the SpongeBob. I had more fun talking about them than I did about the Omega Bronze Gold Paris 2024 watch. So, and I didn't know anything about these Spinnaker watches, but they were fun to go ahead and have a conversation on. So that's it for this episode. I'm going to end it a little bit early because I need to drive a couple cities over to meet with Koji because he is in Kansas. So I'm going to go out there and say hi to him. We'll be back for next Saturday, and we'll do another live stream, probably covering new watches, maybe more than just two, but I don't know. We'll have to find out. Congratulations to any of you who actually got one of the SpongeBob watches. I'm sorry for any of you that did not. Maybe based off of the success, they'll do a new run of them. We'll have to find out. But anyway, otherwise, I will bid you all have a very good weekend. If you didn't catch the live stream and you're watching the recording, leave your thoughts on the SpongeBob watches below. Or if you want to go back and talk about the Hodinkee changes, we can, I read all of the comments. So I appreciate any feedback that you all have. Hope you enjoyed the show otherwise. And I will talk to you all on the next one. Take care, everybody.